19, some now dead folks that the kids don't know today created United Artists, but then in the winter of 1979, it got really cold outside, and people sat around at home bored, wishing there was something called the internet that they could kill time on. Many years later, they could, enjoying movie reviews of bad films, and even more bad films. These reviews were a success, leading to a slew of creator-controlled videos and sketches. But there was one flop, one piece of failure, that the tidal wave of change it wrought is still being felt today.
I don't know why the Cinema Snob made a review for Heaven's Gate. I mean, I'm his friend, but it's not like I watch his videos.
The lore of the Heaven's Gate review is to never do a review like that.
It's the story of moving chairs, talking on the phone, celebrity impersonations, and the story of ego run rampant with staggering extravagance.
So, I got to see an advanced screening of the Inglourious Basterds 2 Hell's Heroes review, and I was blown away. And I thought, I want to do business with that guy, huh? Then the Heaven's Gate review came out. Who's Fat Grandma? I mean, I don't even understand that.
Snob thought he could make the review for $2. That budget mushroomed by 1,000,000%.
I took over the management position from Steve Gutenstein, who he himself had taken over from Gene. Steve and I had two givens. The Snob had to mention Christopher Walken and Chris Christopherson.
But a list was drawn up of possible candidates to take over the role of Bro Number 2. The who's who of Hollywood was asked. Diane Keaton, Sally Field, and Jane Fonda all said no.
I don't know. I just heard that he asked Sarah.
It made no sense to me why a French woman would be playing a broski in Wyoming.
I'm not French. I'm from Springfield, Illinois.
Once I realized the mistake I had made, she was good for the part.
The Heaven's Gate review was gonna be the Gone with the Wind, Dr. Zhivago, Lawrence of Arabia of movie reviews about the American West. A Heaven's Gate review would seal his place in the history of people who wear costumes and talk about movies online. He was half right.
You know, I didn't see it either. It's in 3 parts. That's too fucking long.
What the fuck? Why are they passing judgment on my review before it's completed? Review the video, not the budget! When we last left Heaven's Gate, Chris Christopherson read off the names on the death list, and Christopher Walken got some new wallpaper. Am I leaving anything out? Alright, a movie can turn into I Spit on Your Grave at the drop of a hat, and never ever be a peeping Tom with Christopherson lingering around. He will slit your throat. Plus, we got to see more of the hookers, played by actresses who Cimino sent off to hang with real prostitutes, which as the movie went on, the more terrified I became. Please tell me that they didn't have to hang out with dead hookers. The reason this was happening was because Ella's name ended up on the death list, something that doesn't sit very well with Nate Champion, so he decides to confront Canton during his Civil War reenactment. Not in here! Oh yeah, and Civil War reenactments in the late 1800s still involved people shooting at each other. But I like what Canton said in that scene. Let's hear that again. Not in here! Please, please, we coldly shoot people in the head outside. In here is where I like to get my reading done. Nate wants a warrant for all the people on the death list, something he probably didn't care about when he shot this guy. I keep forgetting that John Hurt is in this. They build up his character so much between the graduation speech and being the only member of the association that was against the death list. Well, him and Jules Gary Alexander. But throughout a majority of the film, he's pretty much just a background character, and Jeff Bridges takes over the role as Christopherson's earpiece. I understand that Hurt's role had to be shortened due to his involvement with the Elephant Man, and Bridges' part was widened due to Cimino's growing love for the Bridges character, but I kinda wish the two parts had just been merged into one role. 3 characters is just too confusing for me. But what isn't confusing is Canton's gloating about his leadership qualifications.
My grandfather was the Secretary of War to Harrison. His brother was a governor of the state of New York. My brother-in-law is the Secretary of State.
Throw in a plug for his book and an idea about building a wall around Johnson County, and that's pretty much Donald Trump's presidential announcement. Hell, there's already a guy who compared immigrants to rapists.
Fuck him too.
And there's the internet and the news's reaction to the announcement. Sorry, John, you go back to being a background character. There's no more college graduation speeches in your future. Not really even sure why that was there to begin with. Well, now that we've gotten warrants involved, hopefully all of this death listing and prisoner taking can be put to rest. Jesus! Where the fuck is all this coming from? 2.5 hours into the movie and suddenly there's more headshots than in John Wick! Now I have a free scarf to wipe the morning dew off my wallpaper. Ella's decided that despite Jim saving her from the rape squad, she's still deciding to go with Nate, unless she could just be with the both of them.
Do you think a woman can't love 2 men?
Whoa, do we have to talk about that here? They should save that conversation for when they go to Indiana Comic-Con. Jim is certainly not taking this very lightly.
Jesus Christ, Ella, these are just things. The world's full of things. I can buy you all the things you want.
Except for a movie about the Johnson County War. That's way too expensive. But Ella wants Jim to know that she was always faithful to him.
I never cheated on you. I always made Nate pay.
See? I didn't sleep with Nate. Well, I did. I just made him pay for it first. Actually, that sounds a hell of a lot worse. Which is understandable because this love triangle doesn't quite work. There isn't much chemistry or passion between Ella and Jim. Hell, I don't even know how they met or what they see in each other. They straight up act like they don't even like one another. And not only can I say the same thing about Ella and Nate, but I don't even know how Jim and Nate know each other. They're supposed to be old friends from a piece of exposition that was dumped on us about 90 minutes in the movie, though the two never mentioned each other beforehand. In fact, Nate is another character that Billy could have been morphed into. For all I know, she just wants to be with someone named Chris, and she's not sure if she wants it to be spelled with a C or a K. Surprisingly, they made the love story a huge part of the marketing campaign. The only thing greater than their passion for America was their passion for each other? Way to inaccurately describe the movie's subplot. If you want to go that route for marketing the movie, it should just say, 2 people who like banging each other don't much care for death lists. Makes more sense than the UK poster, which says, what one loves about life are the things that fade. Tell me about it! This movie has ghosts in it! And cover art featuring Chris Christopherson lovingly embracing his female co-star is much sexier when it involves a 70s sperm, thank you very much. Jim leaves all pissed off and, what the hell? Why is the violin player in the stable? Is that where they keep him when he isn't playing at roller rinks? Does he live there? Do they feed him? Who is he? And why is he still playing the violin? Does the juggler still stand in the street in the off hours? Now whenever I hear the soundtrack playing, I'm just going to assume it's coming from a musician strapped to a pillar off camera. There's only one thing a man can do in this situation, and that's drink with someone whose hat may be filled with delicious Jiffy Pop. He frequently remembers his college girlfriend, and please remember this, more so than remembering the lines.
I hate getting old.
I do too. I've gotten very old since I started watching this movie. Even my eyebrow hair is falling out. Uh-oh, the townsfolk are about to learn to never wake up George Eastman when he's dreaming about a sequel to Porno Holocaust. Funny thing about that, This seconds-long shot of Christopherson waking up and cracking a bullwhip took an entire day to shoot, required 52 takes, and resulted in whip injuries from the actors. I understand, Cimino. You're obsessed with this film. It's your pet, it's your baby, it's your canvas, and you're the artist. But why that many takes for cracking a bullwhip for a mere second? It's not like it's Charlie Chaplin eating a boot. And have you ever tried talking about death lists while hungover? You need some chili cheese horseshoe sandwiches in your belly before you talk about that shit. The mayor shows up, which raises the question, this town has a mayor? Nice to meet you, mayor. Where have you been? And why do I have the feeling this shot took 100 takes just to get the guy's face to show up perfectly in the mirror? Jim quits his job as marshal, but there's more important stuff to get to, like Jeffrey Lewis returning as the wolf trapper. Uh-oh, this looks a lot more dangerous than wolves. Just remember your previous scene. Hold the gunmen's tongues, and then they won't be able to shoot you. I hope Canton is a good negotiator. A simple handshake would have been a lot more peaceful, though I'm sure the negotiating isn't over yet. Or are they just here to ruin Christopher Walken's wallpaper? I guess this is what happens when you mildly threaten the leader. An army will come after you. And don't worry about Mickey Rourke. He'll go on to star in the next, much better Cimino movie, Year of the Dragon. Judging from the phone call I got last time, Walken will be going down with the wallpaper. Oh no, you're not fooling me into answering this time. I don't have another $1 million to spare. I need that money for when I shoot an opening prologue to the episode showing me graduating high school. What you're about to see next should not be talked over. It's Nate Champion going down in a literal blaze of glory. This is not one of the worst movies ever made. Or maybe it is. I don't know. It's so long. It's actually quite sad having Walken out of the movie. Sure, his character is written as three-dimensionally as some of the other characters in the film, but look at that face! Look at that face! Walken can take the most blandly written character on paper and turn it into something more 3D than Captain EO. I actually give a shit when he dies. He got his Sonny Corleone on. Meanwhile, the immigrants assume that because the cabin burned down, that the cabins are also on the death list. No time for you, Yakov Smirnov. We're about 100 years away from your style of humor. One guy also freaks out because all he wants to do is roller skate. If you want to know what's actually going on in this scene, beats me, there's no subtitles, and far be it from me to gauge emotions by their reactions. Instead, I'll have to make up my own subtitles. I see they're not quite done rebuilding the building that Cimino had torn down, and you're making it very easy for the people enforcing the death list. You're all in one place, but not before coming up with a plan.
We're going to shoot all the sons of bitches!
I like it, but you're gonna need a very convenient list to carry this death plan out. Say what you will about the association, they pretty much perfected the Death Note. But let's get back to the love story, because sure. The guy I was gonna run away with is dead routine. She's hot, whatever, all is forgiven. Hopefully Jim keeps this classy.
I told you so.
Did you? You told her that hundreds of gunmen were gonna surround Nate and shoot him 1,000 times? I don't remember you doing that. And perhaps you should have told Nate and not her. This is so not an I told you so moment. Anything else going on in the meeting? Stop shooting each other in the head! You have enough people wanting to shoot you in the head! Hell, the death list probably isn't the biggest villain here. The real danger is filmmaking itself. I'm not entirely sure that was supposed to happen. There wasn't much safety in Heaven's Gate's dojo.
So there was this thing called Camp Snob. Do you know about this?
Camp Snob was for all actors involved with the production. They were to travel by bus for 3 hours to complete their training. Training involving cockfighting and roller skating.
Yeah, he had me taking roller skating lessons. I'm not even in the review!
I killed a lot of chickens. I mean, a lot of chickens.
That son of a bitch had me drive 3 hours to see an IMAX screening of Entourage in a theater full of bros, rigged an Axe body spray bomb to go off in my back pocket, and set my ringtone to Don't Stop Believing. Then he called my phone. I was chased by bros all the way home.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to go see Entourage, but nah. I just went and saw Mad Max again.
But that wasn't the worst of it. Actually, that kind of was the worst of it. But Louis Lovehog had to spend 2 weeks in a nursing home emptying fat grandma bedpans, and bastard film brain didn't do anything, stating, "I'm not going to do jack shit unless it involves porking Snob's cousin in the cornhole with hot butter, which I don't need training for, seeing how I've already done it 5 times.
What? We used to call the Snob the Ayatollah, because he reminded us of Hitler.
I used to tell him, Snob, this review, I mean, it better be a masterpiece, because if it's not, they're gonna kill you. Because it's really long.
So when part 2 ended, there was a slow clap. Snob came up to me and asked, "Why isn't anybody drinking the champagne?" I said, "Because no one likes your review, Snob." Also, it wasn't champagne, it was a 6-pack of Big Flats beer. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of money left.
Ungrateful motherfuckers! You're not gonna bring me down from making my masterpiece! We're now elbow deep into the battle between the settlers and the enforcers, who are all a little more than elbow deep into the mud. Did I say mud? I meant grass. The reason why I know it's grass is because without the approval of the studio, Cimino had an irrigation system built under the prairie to give it the lushest, greenest grass the scene deserves. See? Look at all that grass! You can't take your eyes off of it! This scene would completely not work if the beautiful green grass on screen wasn't up to perfection. Say, Billy, I have a feeling you're not paying attention to the grass.
Time last year I was in Paris.
Not enough battle scenes have a drunken John Hurt in them. Sure, this is an all-out bombardment of dust and dirt. I mean grass. Not to mention a hell of a lot more dead bodies. But please, tell me more about Paris.
Oh God, do I love Paris!
Damn it, this is Wyoming, not Paris. No one has ever gotten those two things confused. Well, in this instance, I guess I understand it. Oops, too late, you're dead. Nothing like getting a minor send-off to a character built up like a major character. Where the hell is Canton going? Oh God, too dangerous. No one told me there'd be guns. Averill is slowly but surely contemplating going into battle. Can you blame him for not wanting to go? Looks dangerous. And in one of the weirdest scene placements, Ella and Jim happen upon Nate's body after Ella was shown in battle, so I guess she took a break. And after she was crying to Jim about Nate, so she knows he's dead. This kind of goes along with the rest of the scenes from the movie. Scenes just kind of happen. Jim is reading the death list, then he's on top of a house to stop Ella from being gang raped. How did he hear about this? Did he just happen to be there? Ella and Jim talk about moving away. Then random roller skating scene. And they continue talking about moving away. Plus, trappers talk about wolves, for reasons. So many of these scenes could have scenes in between them, or they could be mixed and matched, or they just don't need to be there. But they're so bizarre and shot so beautifully, and the acting is rather quirky, that I'm glad that they're there. Thus the power of great cinematography. Although this is stupid, he wrote a final journal entry right before he died. I agree with Ebert, that is dumb. Except that's what the real Nate Champion actually did when he died in an extremely similar fashion. Hell, this is the most emotion she showed towards him the whole movie, and he's dead. Jim reluctantly joins the battle, conveniently when they're on nap time. I'm not sure if I want to go in there or not. Something tells me there's a lot of flies. I hate flies. The next morning, the groups are back to work, at killing each other. Sorry, Captain, all I see is a lot of smoke. Don't worry, it's gonna get a hell of a lot smokier. I can't tell who is on whose side. They all look the same, and the dust is making it very hard for me to process the bullet wounds. Real battles in dirt prairies don't kick up smoke. Why isn't this battle choreographed? This sequence is simultaneously breathtaking and horrifying when you know the backstory. I made a lot of horse jokes in the past episodes, but there's really not much to joke about here. This scene is enough to give any animal rights activist nightmares for a month, and that's even if they've seen Cannibal Holocaust. Many horses involved return to their owners completely traumatized with the careless insanity of the production. At least 4 horses were killed during the scene. One in particular was reportedly blown up with dynamite. It's actually confirmed that the exploding horse is somewhere in the scene. It's an impossible thing not to look out for, but while I haven't necessarily spotted where it was, given the chaos of the scene, I see a hell of a lot of shots where it could have been. It's because of the outcry of Heaven's Gate that not only led to the American Humane Association being able to monitor all animals in film and television, but it also led to the now famous "No animals were harmed" disclaimer. Dairy Quinn's legs, on the other hand? Even in a past life, John Locke can't win. Parallel universe John Locke, on the other hand? Kinda. Maybe the scene is hard to follow because in Cimino's 5.5-hour rough cut, the battle scene was the length of a feature film. That's the problem. If you want fluidity in your battle scene involving an impromptu shootout between the settlers and the enforcers, it has to at least be a 90-minute scene. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of sequences of people getting shot. Okay, I think I found the horse blowing up scene. I'm pretty sure I did. Not only can you clearly tell that the writer was injured, but they actually put in a horse sound effect to match along with the horse death. Dude, you're making it very hard for me to feel sorry for you that this movie bombed. Oh, thank God. Canton is returned to brighten up the scene. Ha ha ha! We have now returned now that most of you are dead. Oh shit, they have nicer hats than us. This is slightly reminiscent of the Ring Around the Rosie scene from the beginning of the film. Could it be to symbolize the contrast between Jim's wealthy upbringing and his humbled, war-torn adult years? We'll know as soon as they start up another man pile. Oh man, the showdown I was really asking for. Averill versus Canton.
You can all go home now!
What the hell kind of showdown was that? I just sat through 30 minutes of people being riddled with bullets, and your final conversation was the equivalent of sending them to bed without supper.
You can let me take them out of here peacefully, or you can get shot for insurrection.
Oh, and my mistake, Terry O'Quinn wasn't the man whose legs were run over. That's Terry O'Quinn, I think, maybe. They all look the same. The dust scenery is ruining my jokes. I can't tell what's going on. But that wasn't the only mistake on Snob's watch. During part 1, he referred to Isabelle Huppert as Isabella Huppert, and stated that Cimino got his way on casting his lead actress because he won Oscars. Cimino hadn't won the Oscars yet, and he didn't even mention Willem Dafoe's small role in the cockfighting ring. The comments thread was unkind. Vincent Canby remarked that Cinema Snob must have sold his soul to the devil to obtain the success of the Cannibal Holocaust review. Gary Collins wrote, Yes, Brad, for your 300th episode, cover this movie, something everyone and their donkey knows. And it only got worse. Ugh, this site has gone downhill ever since Brad became a total SJW. Doing this Craig shit again? The cameos were cancer. Dude, I love ya, but this episode sucked. You're not Craig. And are you telling me that the Cinema Snob can't get the real Chris Walken to do a cameo? I mean, the guy does cameos in some butt-fucking awful movies. He couldn't do one here? The ripple of these scathing reviews was felt throughout the reviewerverse.
Thanks to this video taking in only 3 hits against a projected 44 hits, I wasn't able to do my Turkish Heaven's Gate review while dressed as Turkish Rambo and carrying the sword from Turkish Star Wars.
That is truly the biggest tragedy. Wait. Why am I narrating this? This must be symbolic for Cimino giving up, because how could such a perfectionist allow a cut this bad in a movie? Then again, why would a perfectionist accidentally blow up a horse and then keep it in the movie? Well, time for that sweet post-war sex. It's about as romantic as the phrase, okay, let's do this. Don't worry, their memories of Wyoming will be no better or worse than anyone else's. At least the war is over. Damn you! Okay, now they're just being assholes! Now she's definitely gonna end up with Nate. They've both amassed a gigantic bullet collection.
Oh, Ella, don't die.
I believe the reaction you're looking for is... Now we move forward to Rhode Island 13 years later. Why? To show that much like Ring Around the Rosie and horse circling, life comes full circle. Jim started out rich, tried to do something noble for the common folk, got royally fucked, and now he's back to his wealthy ways as Caesar Romero. I don't get it. So comfortable. Who are you and what are you doing on my boat? Remember I said pay attention to that picture? Well, Jim is back with his college girlfriend, the lady who we last saw in the movie when it started 12 hours ago. They do all they can to remind you that this is her, even by putting the picture in the shot and no makeup on her. The aging makes sense though. The men are always 40 and the women are always 20. Damn, poor guy, being rich with rich people things and a rich wife and shit. At this point, I feel I've known this movie long enough. We should address each other as friends, so I will call you Chris Walken. Is it just me, or is one of the biggest flaws in the film is that Canton didn't get shot in the head? Well, in case you didn't hear, that movie didn't go over so well. After the movie premiered in its 3.5-hour cut in New York City, it was met with scathing reviews, notably by Vincent Canby of the New York Times. Oh, but don't take that seriously. He also didn't like Empire Strikes Back, thus negating a critic's review by bringing up something that you disagree with him on. Because of the reviews, future screenings were canceled, and Cimino withdrew the film from circulation even after promos had been made.
On November 21st, in a special reserved performance engagement at the Plitt Century Plaza 1 and 2, United Artists presents a new film from the Academy Award-winning director of The Deer Hunter.
Well, that never happened. The film was recut into a 2.5-hour version, which was met with far more negative press because it was hacked as shit, and the film brought in only $3 million against a $44 million budget. And while United Artists was able to get back that loss after the release of 1981's For Your Eyes Only, the era of director-controlled films had all but ended, due also in part to the box office disappointment of Francis Ford Coppola's One from the Heart. And studio-controlled high-concept pictures became the norm. But time was eventually kind to Heaven's Gate after the film gained slight reacclaim after a 2012 and 2013 re-release. The film was given high praise from Time Out London, David Thompson, and even the New York Times, this time reviewed by Manohla Dargis. Filmmakers Martin Scorsese and Peter Bogdanovich have praised the film, and actors Chris Christopherson and Jeff Bridges have expressed no regret in taking part in it. Cimino even tears up at recent reassessments of the film at various screenings and festivals. Though not everyone is a fan, take for instance Joe Queenan of The Guardian, who in 2008 called the film the worst movie ever made. Oh, you're not kidding. I'm sorry, I thought that was a joke. I don't even know if that merits a response, so I'm not gonna say anything. Instead, I'm just gonna show this.
America! Help us! Is Daddy drunk again? Yeah.
Where do you think you're going if you've got so much work to do?
That's a griffin. It's a flying bird monster.
He caresses her breast and her body as if he is examining some rare, delicate flower.
Such a feeling's coming over me.
Where's your horse, Striker?
You're sitting on him.
Макс Фривинг. Перевод Жужа.
And that's all I got to say about that. And it only took 3 whole episodes.
Bravo, sir.
I've had about enough of your shit too, Billy.